Hello, hello, hello.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Andy, how you doing there?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you? Here we are again.
I'm doing so great. Excited. I got a great show with Brett Jackson coming our way. We're going to talk about all sorts of cool experiences. So be waiting in the wings for that. But of course, first we have some news. We still need that intro, right? We have some news out there in the world in theme park and themed entertainment.
We do.
Shall we jump in? I mean, what really the biggest news was D23.
Oh, yeah.
And did you watch the full live stream announcements or just watch
I
that?
did not. I watched the various live tweets of it, though. I was busy working yesterday. I didn't have time to watch the whole thing, but I would occasionally poke my head out and look at the tweets and the Twitters and the X's.
Yeah, so some interesting news coming out of the Disney World, and mostly a Disney World, actually, literally Disney World, not Disneyland.
Yeah, almost nothing for California parks.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised by that, but hey, it was interesting kind of wrapping my head about a year ago when they did this event, and I think that may have been D23 when they did it. Maybe it was, and they basically kind of gave an update. But as we know, these project life cycles are slow. Disney appears to be doing a thing where they're more sending out test signals almost to see, well, hey, what does this make sense?
Yeah, I mean, Disney's like, here's some art from stuff what we're considering building, and meanwhile, you've got Universal is building an entire new, like $3 or $4 billion theme park, and they haven't told anybody about anything about what it is.
Well, except that it's going to be really great, right? They said that.
It's going to be epic.
Yeah. I got to remember this is live coast to coast. We got to keep our commentary, positive.
I also love that we managed to both wear black and orange shirts today.
Yeah, that's nice. This for Storyline Studios
and Amari.
Nice.
Not Atari, Amari.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Anyway, so yeah, D23, is it's such an interesting thing, and it was really weird this year too because of the strike. They couldn't haul out any of the actors like they would usually do for any of the films to promote the upcoming films or the new to streaming films or things like that. And the TV shows, they couldn't have any actors at all. So they just had a bunch of awkward executives and some art and some clips and stuff like that. So it felt kind of just,
Well, what's interesting is that this is kind of like, this is Destination D, and then there's D23. So they have different ways of getting information out there. I mean, a lot's changed with the Disney company. Bruce Vaughn's back as Chief Creative Officer of WDI. There's been shakeups. The entire move to Orlando was scrapped, which is probably, quite a big deal for our industry folks. And then, of course, we have the actual announcements, right? So I'll just kind of do them from memory. They squeezed a little bit more juice out of that hat box announcement. Just a little bit more juice out of that, which I thought was fun. Funny, really.
I think one of the other funny announcements too was next year. Is it next year? They're going to have the presentations at the Honda Center for like 20,000 people.
Yeah,
it's like they're going to have a 20,000 people in this arena. It's like, and we've got a new churro cart.
Yeah.
And 20,000 people like lose their minds like a hockey game.
Yeah, it was interesting. So that is what was formerly in the convention center is now moving to the Honda Center, which is very interesting, right? Like I didn't know they had that much space at the Honda Center to kind of host panels, host, the show floor, whatever, all the things that they do. So very interesting. I might not have young kids, but I might be able to actually attend that, which I've been meaning to go to D23, but it hasn't really worked out for many various reasons, whether it's having a new kid or what have you. So actual announcements going out. So we had the hat box. We had this was news. Country Bears are being updated, reimagined with a little bit of songs that are a little bit more recognizable to Disney, and so a little bit of update. It's been a while since I've been on that show or seen the show. I'll obviously have to make a trek to go watch it.
Yeah, I'm a big Country Bears fan. I think that it's one of those magical attractions that is sort of like a historical relic, like Small World and Pirates and Mansion and things like that. I love to see them updated, but I don't like to see the character change so much. Like you go to see Country Bears to have them sing goofy, jokey, vaudevillian country songs. It's a vaudeville show, and
Yeah.
like forget about that. And no one under 50 knows what vaudeville is anymore anyway. But
Right. No, very true, right? It is important to.
but to switch it over from that sort of goofy vaudeville show and like country medley and jukebox kind of show to just like country versions of Disney songs. It's just like synergy, yay! Okay,
We'll have to see how it goes. I mean, if the alternative is rip it out, I'd
yeah.
rather keep it. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know. Maybe Andy, you may have been there too. I was at the last the last two showings of the Country Bears almost like it was like September 9th or 7th of 2001 when they closed it down. And I was they pressed the final two shows the same time. And
I
then,
was not because I was prepping for a recording session that we had on September 11th, 2001.
yeah, yep. So with that, anyways, and I actually found out a friend of mine was actually hosting the last show as well. So next item up for grabs, which was also new, was getting a little bit more specific about Disney's Animal Kingdom. So I believe last year they said Dino Land is up for grabs. They wanted, and they were floating around a few different IPs to play with it, and they made announcements that Indiana Jones is going to be, well, all these are like possibilities, but Indiana Jones is coming to a South Tropical Americas area, which is South America, realistically speaking, and along with an Encanto attraction. I don't believe they've made any specific updates, but essentially you could imagine the dinosaur ride becoming Indiana Jones Adventure with an animal spiritual animals, or whatever they're going to do with that. So I got to be honest with you. Every time I'm riding dinosaur, I just wish I was on Indiana Jones. So
Yeah.
this really,
I think most people, like 99% of guests, day guests and whatever, do not know that is a near clone of the track from Indiana Jones here in Anaheim.
yeah,
and the same vehicles.
I saw a tweet last night that was talking about dinosaur, and they had a point of view on it about dinosaur, they show you what's going on, Indiana Jones tells you, which is a fair point, but and I was about to embark on a 10-page dissertation about why dinosaur is not as good as Indiana Jones, and really from a design perspective, so that we as artists, but then it's like I'm not going to do it on Twitter, who cares, nobody cares about this. And I also don't want to flog people who work on the ride. We all know we have budgets. We all know we have, hey, we needed to do a dinosaur ride. What I think is better about dinosaur versus Jurassic Park is that the intensity of the ride vehicle matches the intensity of the experience versus Jurassic Park or Jurassic World if you're on the West Coast. You're on a slow moving boat ride, right? There's no moment to there's not a moment that you're just sitting there watching things go down. So a very interesting take on that. So I thought it was successful, but then at the end of the day, it's how do you build a world that's so long ago expansive, with energy, World of Energy, or I think that's what it's called, right? Universe of Energy, the Universe of Energy, or the tableaus that are on the Disneyland Railroad. You have to be a pretty big space to create that world that the dinosaurs can fit in. So these small pockets that are mostly black, and then it's just black again and kind of black, and who knows what's going on. It didn't necessarily hit what I think they were hoping to do.
I think that Disney has the opportunity to do the funniest thing in the world with the Indiana Jones theme and have a huge display with snakes.
Yeah, you got to have it. Yeah,
A whole the House of Snakes. Indiana Jones, Dr. Henry Indiana Jones, and the House of Snakes. The
yeah.
whole queue is just snake displays.
All right, and then the other news that was snuck in there was Zootopia, right? That the Zootopia, they're starting to release new details about the ride in Shanghai. You know, that's been announced and been in work development for, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 years. I mean, it could be longer. But a Zootopia film, I don't know if it's 3D or what, is coming to the Tree of Life, presumably replacing It's Tough to Be a Bug. So very interested to see what that show's like, if it's going to move the needle. And, you know, essentially it seems like they're making some, what I would consider, wise decisions in targeting underutilized areas. You know, we've seen it before with Maelstrom and, you know, Universe of Energy and Mickey and Minnie's. I mean, I know there are a lot of great movie ride, but if you get there on any given day, it was running at probably less than 25% of the capacity it was meant to do, right? That's not a way to operate a theme park, guest experience wise. So very interested to see how that goes. Then moving, what was the other, a couple little things. They said there's still stuff happening over the rainbow or behind Frontierland and Thunder Mountain, but they really didn't give any update.
Again, I keep saying Western River Adventure is what's behind Big Thunder Mountain.
Well, that is true. That is true.
That's what's there. We just can't access it. It's just in the alternate dimension.
Yeah.
I read an interesting theory to get back to the things that they're considering announcements. I read an interesting theory on Twitter. I wish I could remember who said it. So full credit goes to this random person, but that all of these announcements of just sort of the vaporware of like we might do this is all for DVC, is to sell DVC memberships. It's like, well, all this stuff is coming, so better get in on the ground floor with this DVC. What do you think about that?
I think that it is this is what I think it is Disney went through a spell where during COVID where they halted production on a lot of things. In last year's D23, they were trying to make some kind of announcements about something so that it didn't look like they didn't have anything to announce. And so now we're seeing kind of them starting to catch up to that with a normal cycle. So like they had an idea of, you know, as anybody does, hey, we have an idea. We want to use these IPs. We want to use this area. What maybe we do with that? And they did it again. I mean, really, they didn't really give anything specific about Encanto and Indiana Jones. People are extrapolating that it's an Indiana Jones overlay onto, and if you look at the concept art, that does look what it is. So I would imagine that we'd be starting to get a little bit more concrete announcements that'll kind of catch up to it, like we have with the Country Bears, right? That was a very specific thing that they're doing, right? But these long-term projects that take half a decade, you know, there's a lot of due diligence that needs to happen. And on top of that, they switched CEOs, the entire leadership at WDI changed in the past year. And so they got to get caught up. Bob Iger came in, they got to review everything, right? So I think we're just in a weird time with the Disney company, plus COVID, that I think they'll get back to announcing things when they're a little bit more fully approved and baked. Not that any of these are or not. But last year's was like, hey, we kind of have some ideas, maybe, who knows? This year was the way they were announcing it was when they said the words, it wasn't like, hey, we don't know if we're doing this or not. It was like, here, this is the anchors, here's what we're gonna do. And then on the announcements actually in writing from Disney, they were more nuanced of like, oh, this is which is a really weird thing to read. When they're like Indiana Jones and Encanto is being considered for this. Like, that was very interesting to see that. So,
well, enough of us. Let's bring on the guest of honor today.
So we should say this. We're gonna bring Brett Jackson on. It appears that he might be having some Wi-Fi issues and not hear us. So let's see how this goes. We may have to do a delay or a new show, postpone this a week if it doesn't work. But Brett, can you hear us?
I can hear you currently. You sound beautiful. Thank you for your patience.
No worries. Well, welcome to the show. We can't really see you moving with the audio, but the audio sounded important, which is probably the most important thing. So that's good. Well, welcome. And if anything,
All right. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We have some people who are pronounced or who are in the comments.
Brett is coming to us from 2003.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, gentlemen. Thank you for receiving my signal from the Radio Shack where I live.
Yeah, apparently. No, it's good to have you on. All right, well, Andy, do you want to start with the first question?
Well, sure. I mean, let's just get into it. I mean, like, Brett's a good friend of mine, and very excited to have him on the show. And I know a lot about you. At least I think I do. I know some things about you, but I'd love to have you introduce yourself to our audience as though it wasn't just all of your friends tuning in to watch you.
All right. Okay. Well, the short is that I am an artist and experience designer working in theme parks. I have a company called Live Action Attractions, and we do creative design for live games and experiences.
Excellent. Well, like, what's your history? How did you come into doing this?
Yeah, what's your journey? Take some,
Okay. Well, yeah. I got into entertainment very recently. About 2018. I had a career change a few years back. I was working as a creative director at Google in New York and feeling very smug about that. But the actual minutes of my life were spent making Flash ad banners. And I realized that I would die doing that unless I made a change in my life. And so I made that change. And I, went back to trying to make a go of pursuing my first love, which is making games. I wanted to originate the creative, and so I started making original works. And the ones that really took off for me were the game show. And so I had this notion of role-playing game show, like a mashup between D&D and The Price is Right. And so I made that, and I had a 50 person, and a little engine called 2-Bit Circus was in the audience of that playtest. And they wanted to open up an amusement micro park with an interactive nightclub. And so I started making stuff for them. And that was my first toe in the world of themed experience.
Well, that's great. And then so now maybe give us a little bit more in detail about live action attractions and what your company does. And we actually have some pictures that we'll share that you can talk along with.
Oh, cool. So as I said, Live Action Attractions makes live games and immersive experiences, both client work and original works. We say that we specialize in delicious and or illuminating, which just means that the vibe of the stuff that we make is always kind of playful and comedic, and that many of our experiences have a culinary component. We're big believers in doing the things that interactive and immersive media can do that other forms of media can't, which includes things like vivid sensory experiences. So what we're seeing now is an interactive masquerade ball for a group of cerebral, maybe a little bit shy artists in Miami. This just shows that every project is different, but the ideation process always starts with if you could wage on what would success criteria for success. So this is something that that was created explicitly to give these people permission to talk to one another and make new friends. And if you want to advance a slide or two, I think we have one for Blackbird Pie, which is one of the examples of our culinary experiences here. So Blackbird Pie was the immersive experience of fine dining in a fantasy tavern. And that came with a 5-course gourmet menu of dishes from the 3rd century BC with a wine pairing and a quest that is created by the players over the course of the evening. After that, we have we have just a quickie of one of our experiences called Cowboyaki, which is an East meets West take on teppanyaki cooking that illustrates tall tales made from audience suggestion with sizzling food on the griddle. So it's like a puppet show if you could eat the puppets, and also you can heckle the cook the whole time. So that's just a quick glimpse at what that we do that differentiates us from some of the other experience design houses. And Illumination is we do creativity development programming, but then also we do a lot of immersive activism. The next slide here will be from The Call Came From Inside the Country, which was a 2016 spooky season game that made phone banking for Biden into a party activity that you could do with your friends.
Wow. How'd that go?
Wow. Who's your president? You tell me.
Well, That's great.
Yeah, it's phone banking is known to be extremely effective, but it's also scary and kind of a pain in the ass thing to do. So the solve in this case was try to make it fun. Try to a date night activity, something you can go to do with friends, and just take all of the sting out of it. And hopefully people will want to do it and they'll want to come back to it.
Okay, you're in an interesting spot overall. Do you have a favorite experience you've worked on overall?
I have a lot of favorites. I think it always tends to be the newest one because you get better at stuff and then you can take it each time. We just contributed to a Meow Wolf experience at their new Grapevine location called Brain Beans that people seem to be loving. So that's the newest, and then of course the Riverside County Scare that opens later this month is possibly the most fun I have had on a project or in my entire life.
Well, I really want to hear more about that, and that's mainly the reason I wanted to have you on, is to raise awareness about that, but also about your very excellent show that you do monthly called Imagineer Do Wells that I have participated in a few times, and it's a lot of fun. And if you don't know about it, you should know about it, and you should come. Brett, take it away. What is it? Tell everyone about
it. Okay. You're referring to Imagineer Do Wells. And Imagineer Do Wells is the Kooky Concepts Club for creators of experience. And that's an example of our our creativity mentorship programming. So it started out with the idea of what could make public creativity, what would it take to make pitching your creative ideas to an entire crowd of people not be terrifying? So that was the design challenge that we started with, and I feel that we really accomplished that because every month, 10 winners all stand up for 2 minutes of pitching an idea to a crowded room, and everybody loves it.
It's a lot of fun. And I don't say that just because I won the last one or the second to last one, but it is a lot of fun.
Well, we've got an active membership now of about 300 weirdos who are just the most fun, most game, most creative human beings that are like they're all so committing to the bit. We've got Purple Club smoking jackets and secret handshakes. Like we have really thrown our back into this whole goofy idea. And the theme is different every time. It's always a surprise. So everybody's always on equal footing. And thanks for saying so, Andy. I'm really proud of what we.
And you've got a new host now. You're stepping away from it for a little while. And tell us about the new host of Imagineer Do Wells.
Yeah. Okay. So that would be Good King Richard. Who is Richard Molina, who is a designer himself, but then also happens to be our highest scoring player. So that's an honor. That's an honorary title, is Good King Richard, and he is taking over as host while I will be in India working on the Scare. And I'll be back probably in January. The club itself just keeps getting better and better. We're talking about franchising. We're talking about doing a streaming version. So it's really exciting time of expansion for that group of weirdos.
It's exciting. Yeah, we've been talking about, how to bring that online and how that could work and how it should work, because I think the more the merrier with that kind of thing.
Yeah, it ends up being such a great. So we call it unprofessional networking, because like it's like any other networking organization like TEA or whatever, except you're not exchanging business cards. You people based on sharing the strength of your weird ideas. So you kind of get to see people and meet people in the context of how it is their mind works, and you're like, that's cool. I want to be that person's friend, it just works. It's a great way to meet people if you're a creative, because creatives can sometimes be in our heads about stuff, and this is a way to find your tribe based on the ideas and the thing getting to you. With a native format that kind of takes.
Great. Well, you're with us, Brett. You can hear us?
Yes.
Okay. No, it's just like we're on a satellite feed sometimes where it's like when you're, all right, you're with me, Jim? No.
I cannot wait to see the rebroadcast of this.
It's not as bad as you're worrying about. It's not as bad as you think.
Okay. Thank you. I was pretty worried.
No, it's good. There's definitely
it is what it is.
Yeah, there's a theme with you with gamifying the world, which is interesting. Coming from Flash, maybe that was a natural, progression. But what brought you to gamification at the beginning? Why games?
Okay. It's why games. Well, gamification is a funny idea because that's just the instrumentation and the series of tools built up around the idea of play. And I've always loved games. I've always made playable activities my whole life. So I think this is kind of a write what you know kind of situation, where this is just where I spend a lot of my time thinking. So it ends up being a series of tools that are very effective for creating satisfying activities and outcomes. Did that answer your question? I have no idea.
No, I think that's good. That's great. Well, and I do want to follow up with with one other question. This happens a lot in my work and is talked in pretty early on in concept. And when we've been to, if you go to a Meow Wolf, right, like Omega Mart, Brett, have you been to Omega Mart before I start going deep in the weeds on this obscure?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I love Omega Mart.
Okay, great. So with whether it's that or it's Galaxy's Edge or even Super Mario World, Nintendo World, whatever they call it, I kind of don't even know. Mario World, whatever. The idea of what level to degree do you need to game something, and what do you do for the waders who are just dipping their toe in the water? Then you have the swimmers who maybe they want to get involved a little bit, and then you have the divers who want to kind of get involved in everything, download all mythology. And we see that with like Meow Wolf, where you can go in there and probably just walk around and enjoy the experience. Then you have people who may know that there's a mission or there's sub storylines to it, and they just know it and they kind of get into it a little bit. And there's people who are deep in the mythology and can stay there for 4 hours, like Andy, going back and forth on telephone lines and communicating with who knows what, participating in the story. So there's different degrees of that. Similarly with Galaxy's Edge, you have people who just will play Millennium Falcon and they'll kind of tap around. Then you have people who get the data pad. Then you have the people who may go even farther, like Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser, RIP, soon to be RIP, and really get involved hands-on there. So I would really take as long as you need, because this is a really interesting question that I really want you to dive in on how do you kind of develop, and what do you consider along those lines?
That's a great question. I feel like that's one where people get really in their heads about it, and it gets quickly overcomplicated. I think the general at cusp rule about the design thinking behind that is that these activities have to be optional. You know, it's never what the guest has to do. It's what the guest gets to do. And then after that, we just remember that there are different types of players. So a good experience probably includes appeals of many kinds. So the primary game is not one that speaks to you. There are still aspects of this that do appeal to you. So I think, you know, it's like it's a buffet. Nobody has to finish every bite of it, but there's a lot of options presented.
Do you think there's a good case study example of that out there in the industry that you've encountered where you thought, hey, they really hit this on all cylinders and they got it right? Like a benchmark that you use?
Question. I think Meowwolf does a pretty good job of it. Like we know that there is a narrative, and I think occasionally people feel like the narrative not close enough to the surface. Like if you're a dilettante, you just want to take a little nip of the narrative. You know that it is there if you spend the time to deep dive in it. I would say that's pretty good, with like the asterisk on the end of that there should never be this kind of content, the narration or the gameplay should never be terribly gated, which sometimes it does occasionally feel that way in these experiences. Like it's like, well, it's not really only for the true fans that are willing to spend 6 hours doing a deep dive. Like it shouldn't be that. Like it should be pretty accessible, but available if it's something that you're excited about.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and I appreciate your thoughts on that. So, moving maybe a little bit off of your past gamification and your gamification strategy. We alluded to it a little bit earlier, but it's Halloween season right now, and we presume you're gearing up for a project. We'd love to hear about that Riverside haunt experience. I may have mislabeled that, but talk about some Halloween attractions you have going on.
Yeah. This is a thing that I talk about a lot nowadays. We are the creative partners for a first ever October seasonal event at the historic Riverside County Fairgrounds called the Riverside County Scare and Pumpkin Festival. And this is an immersive experience where guests can visit a magical town in the spirit world, which features 3 gorgeous theme homes. That's right. So I've got a couple images of them here. Yeah, okay. So this first one here is an area that we're calling Plaza Phantasma. This is in the magical California town of, and the Plaza Phantasma is it's a haven for family-friendly fun. This is our pumpkin patch. It has seasonal delicacies, the perfect town square, alive with a festival of friendly, spooky family fun, all ages entertainment.
Nice. And then I presume on the next slide, is it part of the same experience or is this a whole different one?
Yeah. So the next slide, this is Cantina Calacas. And the slide after this is an image of that. And the notion here is that you can sip on festive brews where skeletons celebrate Oktoberfest in a haunting desert oasis like no other. So yeah, these areas are all inside 33,000 feet of refrigerated air, and you're able to go forth between all of them. Obviously, this has, while Pumpkin Patch has appeal for the kids, this is going to appeal slightly to the adults and knuckleheads like yourselves.
Oh, that's awesome. It's
I can't
wait to
see it.
placemaking. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Andy.
Good.
No, just cool to see
Thanks.
all the details and placemaking involved here.
Yeah, I'm super excited.
Thank
to
you.
see
Yeah,
it and
the
experience it.
story behind it is I'm excited to show it off. Thank you very much for the confidence there. And then we've got one final slide here, which is even though the scare is for spooky family fun, there is also a haunt, a real bona fide haunt called the Carnival Carnivore for ages 16 and up to step right up and see the beast who feasts. This heart-pounding haunted house for thrill seekers 16 promises unforgettable surprises. And we're very proud of this and very excited to show this off.
Cool.
Oh, that's great.
When do these all open? If you could share those details.
Yeah, these open on September 29th and it's all the way through until October 31st.
Great. Well, congratulations on that. So we did a little bit of Halloween. You know, well, now we're going to talk a little bit more about your industry work. You know, you talked about, what was it? Not unnetworking, but it was, what was the name you used?
The Imagineer Duels.
Yeah. What was the
unprofessional networking?
Unprofessional networking. Okay. So that's, yeah. Can you talk about this overall? This concept is very interested to hear more.
Sure. Yeah. So this is just the idea that oftentimes if you go to a networking event, it ends up being like a series of status games where you have to meet people who have opportunities they want to give out. Like maybe they feel like too many next geners are coming up to them, or it's not worth their time, and they only want to speak to the heads of other businesses. And that can be kind of exhausting. Like you feel like you're constantly on stage. So we wanted something that was play. This is an opportunity for you to go and have creative play, and at it you have made new friends and talk to people about things that have nothing to do with your job or what you're looking for. Only then do you realize that this cool person who's basically your new bestie happens to be a Disney executive. And so that just takes a lot of the pressure off and creates, you know, opportunities for a different kind of interaction that you don't get at another kind of networking event.
That's really cool. How often do you do these unprofessional networking events?
This is the Imagineer Duels is once monthly. The date changes. Generally, we have we have a 1-year residency at 2-Bit Circus, and so every month we get a different date. And so it's once monthly, but the theme is always different. So the game is always a surprise.
Got it. So I apologize. When you said unprofessional networking, I know that we had some slides to it. I wasn't sure if that was a separate entity. So it is all part of the Imagineer Duels.
It is, yes.
Oh, cool. That's great. I love that.
And you also do special events like the one pictured here. You do that. That was at the Bees-Arts office there.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah. So we do our monthly, and this was an additional like secret second in a month. So this is one hosted by the Bees-Art company, who we love, for the Themed Entertainment Association. So it was an official TEA event. We have done 2 of those for the TEA over the course of our we just celebrated our 1-year anniversary, and we've had 2 TEA events, and this one is at the very generous, very cool Bees-Art company.
Yeah, they are.
And
cool.
I want to clarify, I'm seeing in the chat here, yeah, they're super cool. I love the Next Geners, Andy. I think you heard a little shade there that I was giving voice to the people who complain about too many Next Geners being at the TEA events, which I think is dumb. It's the lifeblood and enthusiasm of the next generation is the future of our industry, and I want as many of them around as possible.
I know. I was just.
It was a Next Gener. Oh yeah. I think we've all heard the complaints about Next Geners. They're like, you know, I get it if you don't have enough leadership face time. You can go to an event that is more focused to that. But I have a Next Gener to thank for even introducing me to the TEA. When I was originally making the first things for 2-Bit Circus, was playtesting that stuff in a game design class that I was teaching. And possibly my most gifted student of all time asked me, so our TEA, which I had never heard of at that point. And that person, that student, was Evelyn Askew, who is now a technical coordinator at NICO 2. And when she graduated, she was my first hire as an interactive designer for my company. So I love Next Geners. Yeah.
I wasn't trying to insinuate that you didn't love them. I just thought it was funny that you mentioned that, you know, events where next gens just come up to you all the time and it just takes all your time up. But I totally get it, and I totally
I know you would.
We love them too. They're a big part of our audience.
Yeah, I will just say this little word of advice.
Oh yeah.
Oh, sorry, am I muted? Oh no, just a little. When it comes to
no, we can hear you.
Younger professionals or newer professionals networking, I think that IAPA is possibly the most difficult time, depending on the event, because it's kind of people who are getting together to see old colleagues that they haven't seen maybe in a year, maybe longer. So when you see people who are talking at these events or parties or mixers, it's kind of like it's a reunion almost. So however, I think that the environments that are a little bit more like monthly for TEA and IAPA are a little bit more laid back, right? When you're at IAPA and you're half buzzed, it's you're there to hang out and chat with friends, industry colleagues.
That is true. That is true.
Before we get on to the last question, which is related to this, I still have one more question, Halloween related question. Now that you're working on this big, giant new Halloween themed attraction, what are your biggest takeaways in terms of creating an experience like this that you're discovering?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's a lot of the same considerations you would put in any other attraction, but maybe with like a little extra helping of do no harm. Like there's a lot of sharp edges in the Halloween industry, and so you just have to be careful, especially if it's something like the Riverside County Scare, which is an all-age family event, except for the haunt. And so you have to put a ton of thought into how to walk that line, making it so that it's welcoming for everyone, so that a kid is never going to see anything that's going to upset them terribly, but that you're communicating to the adults that if you go behind that door, there will be something electrifying for you. So that is a fine line to walk, and a very interesting design challenge.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I can imagine that. It's sort of like walking kids through the casino to get to the lobby of the hotel. That's not for you.
It's a great example. Yeah. All wonderful candy-coated stuff is not for children.
Yeah. I must say that, like, kind of on my
that Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory machine is not for you. That's for me.
Yeah. I got to tell you.
Only for me.
Oh, sorry. I'm going to try again. I must say that working on a Halloween seasonal attraction is kind of on my bucket list for career. So hopefully one day that'll figure out how to make that happen.
Amen to that. I know exactly what you mean.
Well, Andy, I actually, you know what? I'll get into the last question. This is how we like to, kind of close our show. Appreciate everybody tuning in. We have a lot of different people who watch this: next gen, future gen, current gen, past gen.
People named Gen.
Yeah. And what is some advice that you may have, particularly, which is interesting with you, is that you've risen in the ranks pretty quickly, right? You said you hadn't heard of the TEA maybe very recently. And now you're
2018.
Now you're infiltrated. You're an active member. You know your way around town a little bit. What's some advice you have for navigating the industry and careers in themed entertainment, or just life?
Yeah. Oh wow, that's a much bigger question. I feel like the DEA, especially, like now I'm on the board of directors of the Western Division, and I'm the chairperson for international events. And the reason that I get to have such cool things now on IB, in line with the advice that I would give to new people in the industry, which is volunteer. Like, all volunteer. If anybody is working on a project and you have something that you can do to help, always offer to help. Competition is not your biggest challenge. Put that out of your mind. Like, you're not competing for resources. Your biggest challenge is anonymity. And so the way that you overcome that challenge is that you connect with your creative community and you find the others. You find your people. And so that's where the best fun is, and that's all where the best opportunities are. So that's the advice that I would give to anyone at any stage.
I think that's excellent advice. And your biggest challenge is anonymity. It's fantastic. You are a soundbite machine.
Yeah, with that beautiful radio voice too. And not even a
and I'm only hearing 1 out of every 3 words. So like, you got to adjust my score up for that too.
Yeah, no. Well, definitely interesting. Yeah, I love that anonymity as well. That really sunk in with me. I'm like, yeah, that is, when people aren't posting on LinkedIn, or they're not noticed, they're not being active in the community. If you want to volunteer with something, I can connect you with people who will take you on as volunteers, whether it be TEA, TETV, Big Break Foundation, IAPA. There's plenty of people who want to come together and make the industry better and the world better. So that's really cool. Really sound advice, Brett.
Yeah.
Oh, and we have a note
cool,
here.
Thank you. And
Yes, I am so envious of your beautiful head of hair. You and Adam Bezark have
this is getting off track.
And Matt Kent have the best heads of hair. Like, we're gonna send out trophies.
Oh, I don't.
Adam and Matt Kent.
I cannot even stand with those 2 heads of hair. And if I could wear a bow tie half as good as Adam Bezark, I would be a much better place in my life. Thank you for saying that, Patrick. I wanna offer the same invitation, which is that the Theme Entertainment Association, the events committee is always looking for volunteers too, and we love Next Gen. Like, the expert at anything was a beginner. Volunteer, we always have places for you.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, Brett Jackson, thank you for bearing with us and getting on with a little bit of technical difficulties. I think it came out okay. There's some of us overlapping because I think you're on a little bit of a delay here, but overall, fantastic show, everyone. So a very big thank you to Brett Jackson for joining us. Hold for delay.
Thank you guys so much. And thanks to Charlie and CJ for producing, as always.
Thank you so much for having me on. You two are so charming and so funny and so garrulous that it's the worst thing about this is I wasn't able to just have a conversation with you 2 people.
Hey, you know what? We'll put you in your green room and we'll chat with you after the show. Thanks, everyone.
All right.